All right. Hello, everybody. We are back in Waikoloa Village.
There we
at
go.
The Hilton. I said it right. I think I'll be getting emails. So if you're not saying it right, you're not saying it right. Joining me, I'm Kim Hickey, is my colleague Jason Patel.
As always.
We are here still on location. We're very excited. I'm going to point out the background again because I love it. And I just feel so bougie. I feel like, Good Morning America when they're doing, don't you?
Yes, I'm with you.
And then over here to my left, our wonderful guest is Angie Rocha, and she is my birthday twin.
Yes.
So we share the same birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Very important.
There we
and
go.
then there's Mr. Ken Rocha. And so they have Rocha's Automotive.
We do.
We do.
I take it we're not birthday twins.
No.
I'm in December.
No, I'm July.
Okay, yeah.
July. All right. There's that. So the reason why I asked Kenny and Angie to be here today to speak with us is because they understand the importance of training. And that is an area that just makes us crazy. Jason and I want to cry when we talk to people about the importance of training. And, you have to do what you have to do. And there's a million excuses and that people don't see their return on investment. And so many times we hear, well, if they're out for 8 hours or 2 hours, they're not billing. And it's like, well, you're going to have comebacks, you're going to have whatever. The jobs are going to take 3 times as long because they don't have the training.
Well, I mean, we're not turning idle screws and adding more fuel or just pulling out the plug wires.
Adjusting the carb, leave it overnight so we can adjust the carb on a cold start.
Yeah, you can't just plug it in or take the plug out.
A car that's 8-10 years old and the parts are discontinued, right? And some of these things you can't just put a used computer in because it's got blow-away architecture and you can't just turn it on and it's going to work. There's other means to do it. And so that's, something that we've been working on to be able to do that kind of work. And we are from a smaller town, so I can't just concentrate on Toyotas or Hondas. I got to take everything that comes through my door to be, profitable and moving
Definitely.
To serve the community.
Yeah. So it's, we just recently got back from Vision a week and a half ago. We shut down the shop and took all our techs.
Wait, I just want to make sure everybody heard that. They shut down the shop. So for those of you that won't pull a tech out of,
For an hour
a week, they shut down their entire shop for a week to go to Vision. So what led to that decision?
Well, it's something that we've
been doing Vision for a long time. Yeah.
And then
taking 1 or 2 always. Yeah.
And then we've done it before, shutting it down. And so this year we got a really good young group of techs and they want to learn. They're like sponges. And so we just decided that we're going to take them all. And I think it's just something we're going to keep doing, moving forward. Some of the best trainers in the industry for repair side, not shop management stuff. That's what we got ATI for. But as far as fixing the cars that come through the door, I think they're breaking more than they ever have. And they're breaking in ways that not just turn.
You can't just turn a screw.
It's computers, and it's tough. It's a hard thing to learn, and to go there and get the classes for the first 2 days are 8 hours long. So it's not just a 3-hour class. The first thing they say when you walk through the door is, "Oh, the book's this big. Sorry, we only got time to get through maybe a quarter of it." There you're getting through a lot of it. So
I think it inspires our techs too. They come back and they feel like we invested in them, right? It's important to them and they appreciate it. He takes them to barbecue. He took them to Topgolf. It's a good team building thing as well. And I asked all of them when they came back what they thought. And one of our techs, it was the first time he'd been and he was amazed. And like we are ATI, when we get to be with other shop owners, they get to be with other technicians.
Right.
They learn a lot.
Well, and you start networking with them, right? You make friends, and
a
lot of them you'll see on some of the social media groups, technician pages and things like that, and they're building relationships that, I used to go to LenderTech back in the day, 20 years ago, and I still see the same people there, and it's like, shake their hands and catch up, and it's just a cool thing, to be part of.
So I want to talk about a couple of things that you guys brought up, right? So the first thing is, we're not mechanics anymore, right? I think we always call them technicians now, and for good reason, because it's a lot more technical, like you said, mostly computers. One thing I want to bring up is a lot of shop owners see this in their shops where they have that one master tech, or they didn't really get to master tech on paper, but they just know how to work on everything. But if we're looking at it just from the last 10 years. That has changed drastically. And there's a lot more specialty. There's a lot more specialization from each manufacturer even, right? They're communicating on different buses now. There's even the type of network and everything that we're using. It's a lot more technical. So with that being said, you guys are in a more of a smaller city area, right? So when you guys kind of are forced to train.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to work on certain vehicles.
Well, what happens with a car that comes in and needs a window switch? It's not a window switch. It needs to be programmed. What are you going to do? So, you have to spend the money on the factory tooling. If you're going to be working on these cars and fixing them, what are you going to do? Call somebody? Oh, sorry, you got to go to the dealer. Put your window switch in at page 3/10. But they get the big money for programming it and taking care of the car.
And we're a small town. We don't have a dealer in our town.
Oh, wow.
The next one is 25. It's down the road.
That's 20-some miles away. They're still there.
That's always insane to me, though. I want to just for a moment on that. With the shops out there that are doing things, they don't have the equipment to do the entire job. I cannot believe that you can look a customer in the face and say, I did this piece of it, but you have to go to the dealer now for the programming or for another part of it. Like, I just, I can't even wrap my head around it.
We struggle with that.
What if they do a better job than you did? It's like, I hope it's not that way. But
Well, but if I know you can only do half the job, how do I know the next thing I come in for, you're not going to do half and
Why
send
am I
me to the
coming-
dealer, right? Like, I'm
Go directly to the
dealer.
source. And this is one of those things, right? With the technicians, like you brought up, all these vehicles, they need programming and whatnot. So you guys are investing in the tools.
Yes.
Right. And the tools are only as good as the user. So when it comes down to
That's
training,
not what I heard, because
Oh, it's not?
I talk to shop owners and they buy whatever tool and it's going to just make everything at the shop better because the techs have that on the shelf now.
yeah,
I don't know
They
what you're
don't know how
talking
to
about.
work it or turn it on, but it's there.
So, but now there are resources with technology. There's
Yes.
resources where people can come in remotely through the tool and do stuff that maybe our techs don't know.
And that's not even across the board either. So you kind of got to be careful with that because you started talking about the other buses. You have Lynn buses, most buses, and they can come in and maybe
Only on
program the
certain
engine control model
Yes.
tranny, but if it's something with theft or you got to have a massive
Direct access.
license for locksmith and automotive locksmith, and those are all. And it's not expensive to get into. I think it's $400 for every 2 years. I renew, and then you could do it on a per car basis, or you can sign up for yearly subscriptions. And it's not expensive to get into. It's just maybe learning how to do it, to get there. And it's not that hard. But once you figure it out, then
The process is a little.
the insurance. You got to constantly update all your insurance. I don't know what else is on there. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
But this is all the owner side of things for the most part, right? So we want our techs to be productive. We want them to be producing. When they're not working on a vehicle in their bay, they're losing money, right? But we lose so much more money when they don't know how to do a certain thing, and now we're waiting on somebody to remote in, or we're sending it somewhere else, or calling. Now, that's another thing, that there's a lot more remote or mobile diagnosticians now that come through. Maybe not in your area as much, but you guys have a facility where you could work on anything, and that just opens up the door to cater to almost all of the customer base that there is, that even most dealers can. So
We have to do that from where we are. Like, he's even growing all our technicians. We're limited. We're in a small town. There isn't maybe the employer base. So they all went through the local community college. He sits on the board. He's training them while they're going through the college. They're working side by side by him. And then this is just the next extension we have to do that to get good quality employees. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's something that you guys are the only ones that have to. I think any shop really has to do this. Otherwise, we have a saying here: if you're not training, you're going. Right? And this is one of the things where, whether you're the shop owner, whether you're just a manager, service advisor, tech, if you're not training, you're going, because there's so much new stuff coming at us left and right. And just look at all the technology. AI has just made exponential growth. But that's the same thing with automotive technologies, exponential growth. We have LiDAR systems in cars now. This is ridiculous. There's stuff that you wouldn't even think of 5-10 years ago.
You know, it's important to think about the culture, and you had to start with a culture of this is a training company. Training is mandatory. We're not going to accept anybody that's like, oh, I don't have to go to that class. I can teach it. I'm so sick of hearing that from people.
And it's funny because, you know, even when we were starting out, I never really thought it like that. I thought I was the best and there's nobody else like me. You know what I mean? Nobody can do it like I can. Well, that's not true. All you got to do is go down the street and, you know what I mean? They're doing it just as good as you are. You know, what's setting you apart that's different than, you know, I think it's just, I think for us, it's having the tooling, getting the knowledge to run the tooling. And some of these jobs, I mean, they are profitable. It doesn't take that long to do. Some of them, that's not the case, but you know.
So how did you start that culture though? Because that's where the first step, because you can send people to training and if their culture is not right, they're going out of compliance and not commitment. And, you know, they have an attitude when they go and they complain that they have to go. That's not the case at your shop.
No.
How did you set that tone?
I think for us, I mean, like you get some of these like O'Reilly's and Napa classes that, you know, after work, they throw a pizza at you and here comes the training, and the training,
It's okay.
it's
Fundamentals.
yeah, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's just not, but it's not, I don't know. I don't think that's.
Well, it's also the time aspect is really the biggest factor there. You can only get, I mean, if we're talking about an hour, 2 hours, how much can you realistically get someone to learn?
Well, when you're eating pizza for 30 minutes, probably
I mean,
not too
half
much.
the time they're the ones teaching the, you know, that class is the one that wrote the class, right? So they're just, there's a book, and a lot of times it'll just be, you know, word for word out of the book, and it's just like, I mean.
Well, and sometimes I hear that also when people and even the technicians will complain about, you know, they made me sit in this class for 2 hours or 3 hours, but it was a salesperson selling a tool. And so I didn't learn anything really other. So the first part of the culture is getting training that meets them where they're at and what you really
I
need.
think it too, it's kind of like I don't want to say competition thing, but when someone sees somebody else, you know, really kicking butt on a car, and it's like, wow, you know, how'd you find that so fast? What'd you do? You know what I mean? And then they start talking,
It's a
and
friendly
yeah,
competition.
it is. And I don't know. I think automotive training seminars, it's the same instructors that are at Vision and stuff, and it's online, and they're anywhere from 4 to 6 hours length on the classes, and those are the ones when you're talking about wanting to do and seeing. I mean, when those come out, they want to do those, and you know, it doesn't have to be right now. You know what I mean? It's you know, it's recorded, right? So you can, you know, at your own pace, and every one of those things that come out, they all want to watch those, and that's kind of unusual for online stuff. That you know, for somebody to be like, hey, I really want to do that, you know.
I think it goes back from Kenny though, because he was at the dealership. He was a technician. The owner of the dealership invested a lot in him and sent him to training a lot. So then I was like, why do you have these computers? He bought his own scan tool at the dealership 27 years ago, but that was where he wanted to go. And then we just kept that going in our shop, right? I mean, it's like, and they like it. They like to.
So they're learning from example. You're setting the tone. You are always going for more education. So they see you doing it as well.
We talk about it a lot. We reward them for it. You know, I mean, I just think that.
I mean, I think too, you got to find those people that are hungry for it, right?
There we go.
I mean, you can always find somebody that want, you know, flip a burger or something, but it's not. I mean, they got to want to do it and love it, and that's the hard part is finding those individuals, you know, that are into it and take it home with them and think about it, lose sleep over it, you know, and that's what it's all about.
And I want to speak to that, right? Finding the right technician. So I know you guys mentioned this earlier. A lot, you sit on the board for your local community college. Seems like you've sourced most of your technicians from that,
Every one of them.
right? So if someone is going to a community college,
They at least have the learning, right?
they want to
Number
learn.
one.
They want to learn. So we're already starting there. So we're already setting the culture, the tone right from there. You're on the board, so you already know what you're looking out for. You see the promise in a tech. Now, I've got a few shops that I coach that they struggle with finding techs that want to take the training, even though they have all the resources there. So if you were put in that position where you had a technician or a couple of technicians that you're providing all these resources, but they're not willing to take advantage, what would you do?
Sounds like you got the wrong guy.
We had one that was there and he just wouldn't progress, right? And so it's hard because again, it's hard for us to, but he's not there anymore, you know? And then along came this other tech that he's great. He fits in great. And he's so happy to be at our shop. He said to us when we interviewed him, I've always wanted to work here. And it was like, wow. So I think you find the next person, right? Which is not easy because I'm bad about that.
Well, you have to separate it, right? You have to look at data. You have to look at those things. And if your company policy is we're a training company and you're hired upon knowing that this is one of the conditions of your employment is the continuous training and all of the things, and you hold people accountable, when you have that all laid out, then it takes the emotion out, right?
Yes.
Of the person, because there's plenty of people that I really like, but they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, right? Like they shouldn't be there. Doesn't mean they're a bad person. It doesn't mean they wouldn't excel at something else, but at this time in their life, in this moment, they shouldn't be there. And so when you have this lined out and you have the culture of this is who we are, then it's so easy to look through and have the data and say, based on data, this is why this isn't working. And then it takes that, I like this person out of it, right? Because you can't have that. That is the worst culture killer ever. I mean, we do surveys, hundreds and hundreds of surveys a year for our members with engagement survey and culture. And the number one thing that across the board that the technician, any of the internal customers from our shops complain about is that the owners are not holding people accountable and they're not, and they don't
clear
want
expectations.
Right, or clear expectations, but they don't want to be working with somebody that doesn't want to be there and doesn't. I mean, it's a culture killer. It cuts them down. I know you had a question, and then I want to circle back to, because we sent them to class, and that's not enough because somehow we have to figure out, did they learn anything? What are they bringing back? And so I see so many times shop owners send even with us to the class, whether it's a tech class, service advisor class, they send a manager to class, and I asked them, like, what did your manager get at? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? You own the company. What, you didn't ask your manager, like, what did you get out of class? What are you going to...
Did you even go to class?
Yeah. What are you going to implement? How are we going to use this? They don't. So you do something pretty unique over there.
Well, I think too, she made it sound like, oh, we go to barbecue and Topgolf. But when we are going out to dinner and barbecue, we're all sitting down and we're talking about, oh man.
But Kenny, even if you just went to barbecue and didn't talk, it would be okay.
I know.
It would be okay, Marine Kenny, to have a...
We talk about, our classes, what each of us did that day. And I kind of let them pick their way. But for one of the guys, he was younger, so first time being there, and I wanted to kind of steer him to, the classes that I think he needed help with. And so we kind of steered him that way. But at the end of the day, when the classes are done, we get together for dinner and we just kind of talk about the class.
Debrief.
Yeah. And what we got out, in a roundabout way. But then when we get back, I put everything on Google Docs in folders by make, model, whether it's programming or ADOS or whatever. And so there's always going to be cars that are going to kick your rear end. And so I like to, write it out on a piece of paper, not piece of paper, but on Google Docs. We type it out and it's in that document and everybody has access to that. And it's just cool. And like all our books, they're all PDFs now. They're all on the Google Docs. And so they're always there and, everything's shared with the technicians. And
so there's a repository there that you're building.
Yes, yeah.
And we'll probably talk about this offline, but there's so many cool resources now with AI. Like I do a lot of BMW stuff and I've got my own repository, my own GPT just for that. Right. We'll talk about that offline or another podcast.
So I've started dabbling that a little bit just on my write-ups.
Yeah.
Using that. It is so cool.
It is awesome. It is awesome. But we'll get into that. But what I wanted to talk about was how you mentioned that the tech that came in after we let go of the tech that didn't want to train, he always wanted to work for you guys.
Yeah.
Right. So this is one of the things with culture that we don't realize that, yes, whatever culture you're building in your shop, you don't necessarily have to do anything for everybody else to see that culture. You can, and you guys are by going to Vision, by going to all these training seminars. People are seeing that this is a unit traveling together. They're going to learn. They're going to do much better with our vehicles because they're also very professional. Now, with that being said, are you guys doing anything in particular to showcase your culture to any other potential techs?
I try to do the Facebook post when he goes, and everything and show what he was doing and show that they're a Topgolf or show that we're learning or different things that we do. But we're super small town, so I think word gets around of what we're doing.
I think it's more to like the tool truck guy. I mean, it's just like, everybody, or they hire in, or, you know what I mean? I think it's a lot like that. I mean, I don't know.
So everybody else is talking about it. Same way that we do word of mouth for our customers. Everybody else is seeing it and spreading that for you guys.
I think so, because it's like I said, we're in a very, like, just to see, I think I mentioned to Kim, they don't always get to travel or go places. So it's kind of a big deal for them to go, and it's exciting for them, and it motivates them. They want to be able to go the next year. And I've broken it up before. There's one in Seattle. What is it?
ATE.
ATE.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe send a couple to ATE and a couple to Vision, so that the shop is not closed down and the rest of them are working while we're going. So we've done that before. Or we've done like this but I think they come back always just happy that they got to go. Because we start out, you need to get your ASCs. We pay you for getting them. We pay you a raise if you get it. As soon as you start, we talk about training and what you need to do. It starts immediately. And in our monthly meeting, how you doing on that ASC,
The culture kind of builds itself. You know what I mean? I think it's just, I don't know.
It rubs off.
I think so. I mean, I don't know. We're nothing. So we're just normal people, and I believe in hard work. That's the way I was raised. And
Well, if I heard correctly, you were Marine, I guess. Okay, so I know that has a lot to do with structure as well, and kind of what you were explaining when people first join. You guys are setting the structure, the expectation, and this is how you move forward, right? So we've got career growth, we've got progression, and on top of that, it's the competition. Whether you like it, doesn't matter who you are. Everybody does better with a little bit of competition.
It's just like putting the hours on the board in the shop, right? I mean, it's not like it's hours on the board in the shop. You write them to like, oh, I got 7, I want 7, I want 8, I want 9. I think it's a friendly competition.
Of course.
It's friendly and it keeps them going, yeah.
So what are you guys doing from a training perspective as far as any kind of friendly competition?
I don't think we're really doing anything as far as that goes.
Okay.
I don't know. There's another company that I like to, L1, they're out of Oklahoma, and it's more like you go there for one subject and it's, 2 days long, and it's, you can get some programming classes, some basic electrical, and moving up from that. It's a lot of ADOS stuff too. And so we got Justin, our basically shop foreman, that, we're going to send him and get him through those programs. And it's just good because it's all hands on. So, it's just a good experience for him.
And Kim's our coach. She's talked about different ways that maybe we could put something.
Incentives,
Yes.
or if we get vision, if the company hits these goals or KPIs, whatever it is we set up, it might be training hours, whatever you want. If we hit this, then everybody goes to vision, all expenses paid. If they don't, then whatever, you can make levels or other things. But it's great to put a target on things, as for how do we incentivize people for doing things. Because even though people love training and all of that, sometimes I see at shops, it becomes almost an expectation, like they're going to take me to vision every year, or they're going to take me to whatever, right? And
yeah.
But
So-
on the flip side, I feel like we have to, because you're going to fall behind, I mean, there's always something new that's out.
But we
coming out.
won't probably always shut the shop.
No.
We can do the ATE or something.
Right. And it might be for, here's what we need to hit for this, to go to these 2 places, or how. And, when you look at it, I know some of you are going to be shaking in your boots right now about losing a week's worth of revenue, but when you're running your win number drill, or whatever you do to figure out, if you're not with ATI, whatever you do to figure out whatever you do to figure out stuff, but you have to look at that, and you have to look at, here's my budget for the year. We're going to be gone 5 days or 7 days or whatever it is. So this is how much we have to do to generate to cover that, and also put in the expenses for the trip, because it's not cheap to take everybody and pay for a
But
hotel.
I guarantee you, there was
and
a couple
meals.
classes that I actually took that I picked up a couple things on, a couple of car lines that I maybe don't work on as much, but I probably could if I really wanted to, that I think are going to pay for that week.
Definitely.
The rest of
Absolutely.
the year, because we're going to be so much more efficient in it. And it's not, just the training, that there's vendors there for the tool. what do you call it, trade show with all the tooling and stuff there. It's just all the, stuff that's new coming out. And maybe you can do a job a little quicker, more efficient, and so you're getting your hands and eyes on that stuff too. And that's, it's important too.
That's huge. That's a huge piece of it. And Jason always talks about, the speed of technology is moving so quickly in our industry.
Crazy.
You could be up to date on everything today, and, 2 months from now or a week from now, there's a whole bunch of new things out that makes everything better and quicker and more efficient, and you have to stay up on it. So if you're not exposing yourself to those things and your people, it's just not going to happen. But you have to follow up. Like it really does break my heart. Like when I go in shops and I see, they have this whole thing and they expect people to do X amount of training hours, and that's great, but nobody's following up. Nobody's giving them time. And there's that old school mindset now of when I, back in the day, I had to do this at night, and that's good for you. And I'm sorry that back in the day, you didn't have
when they had to swim 5 miles to catch a bus to go to school. That's not today anymore. And really, when you're sending people and making them go at 10 o'clock at night because their day is done and they have kids and they have whatever, how engaged are they going to be in that training? And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be an expectation of somebody to maybe read Motor Age or, follow up on a couple things on their own. But if you're serious about training, you have to provide the time for training. You have to.
And it is real, Kim, because like you said, all our technicians are young. They all have families, right? And they're all involved in their families. So we've had to evolve as a shop as well to give them more time off we've changed a lot in our 20 years in business and how they want to be. So they're leaving their families, they're leaving, and they're involved dads in what's happening. Right. So they like it. Last year, one of them couldn't go. It didn't work out. He had a new baby, but he was right on it this year that he wanted to go,
So there's probably half of the camp that has a bunch of small kids and they want to be gone for a week. And then
It just brings it the whole. I remember coming up and it was miserable to be at work, working on a car that you have no idea how something worked. You struggled, right? And it's miserable to be there for 8 hours or however long you're there trying to figure something out and
struggling the whole
and when
time.
you can get some knowledge to help yourself in the game, God, it's just, it makes it all worth it. It's it's fun to be there when you can actually fix a car. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Well, I think you brought up a good point, right? The word fun. You can make training fun if you're going with a purpose, right? We were talking about this in an earlier podcast about intent, right? All of our tools, if we have a tool cart, it should be built with intent. This is what this tool cart is supposed to be used for. The same thing with training. Whatever training we're sending our techs to should be built with intent. And that's how you keep it fun, because somebody's going to be more engaged if they're actually like, hey, I was working on this car a couple of weeks ago and I couldn't figure it out. Now I'm at this training and it's going to help me directly. I can relate it directly to that. Right. So what are you guys doing to kind of track technician growth as far as strengths and weaknesses of, what does this tech need more training on?
Well, besides tracking their hours per day, per week, I think that's a real good indicator. We try and everybody has their areas, out of the 5 techs, we try and steer them in their different areas and, based off of, the hours per day, I think that's a really good indicator. And
so what are you using as a prompt to know if you have 5 techs with different strengths and weaknesses and areas they need more knowledge? Are you in that repository or anywhere looking and saying, okay, this person needs more training on?
I think everybody needs electrical because it doesn't matter what you're doing. You have to have some kind of basic electrical and there's different ways and processes to get that across to somebody, and your way might not be as good as my way or Kim's way, or and for somebody to, it might take them 2 or 3 times going through the same type of class to finally the light bulb goes off. Oh wow, now I get that, that voltage drop test. I need to be doing that at every single car comes through the door. It takes 10 seconds to do. Why wouldn't I do that? It's the little things like that. And I know I'm getting off topic.
No, you're not.
Hey, this is good.
I think it's just the basics. Everybody wants to go grab that lab scope or that scan tool, and it's the basics. How's your battery? What's the connections?
The visual check. How many people miss just an unplugged connector? It's ridiculous.
10 cars a day. There's probably only one of them you're really going to,
really pull out
fancy tools to pull out, your arsenal to fix that car. The rest of them it's just like you're saying, an unplugged connector, a loose battery cable or whatever, and it's just, if you just have and I think we have a really good process on how the car comes through the door, how we start and where we're going to get to pull that scan tool out.
So you have that process outlined for each tech, right?
Google Docs, we can print it out. I mean, it's like, it starts with, the car comes in the door, testing the battery, and then there's a few other things on there, like if it's, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I got you.
But the techs have different levels. So there's our,
And
so
sheet, that sheet takes somebody that may not be as strong, say I'm busy on something else and we got 2 check engine lights coming through the door. It's the process. You run this process, you should be able to find an answer, or at least run that process before you go ask technician Joe over here, hey, I need some help. Did you run that, did you go through that sheet, And if you did, and we can't figure it out, then that's when I want you to go find it. Hey,
that's when you escalate.
Yeah.
Well, this is something that a lot of manufacturers are doing now, right? So with their factory software, they build test plans, right? You plug the car up and it automatically, like if it's come in for like a check engine light or something, right? It builds out the test plan through the software for you, right? So you guys are doing this at a very good kind of strategy with every car, right? We do it with DVIs. We have our inspection process. And you guys are taking a step further, I'm assuming, with diagnostics as well, where you have your diagnostic process by levels or however that's kind of set up. So with that being said, with the levels of the technicians we have, this helps you guys keep everything productive. Right tech is working on the right car. And this is how you're able to kind of go based on the hours. If they're producing a certain amount of hours and their hours are not where we want them to be, that kind of indicates to you that they need more training.
Okay, that's a symptom.
Where did we go wrong? How did that happen?
Or not even wrong, just where are you stuck? Where can we help you and assist you?
Angie, so he's a kinder, gentler.
Yes.
He was weak.
Always.
And we don't have hot weather all year long, and we are in California, but we have our AC work months, the 3-4 months out of the year. We had the technician Travis. I mean, he's very efficient on the nuts and bolts, and he was scared to do the AC. So we set him up with some AC classes, and he's really proficient now. Now I try every AC job that comes through the door, I try to feed it to him, and he loves the work and he's getting good at it. So,
that's an important thing, because I think a lot of times people's pride, they don't want to say, I'm not confident. I'm not really sure about that. They'll say, I hate doing that. Don't give me those, right? And you got to ask questions and find out and help what areas they're not. What are you, and I want to ask both of you, but I'll start with you, Kenny. The people that say, I don't have to send them to training anymore because we have Identifix and...
Identifix? Oh, no.
You know what? I think every shop should have it, Identifix, but as maybe help with your direction, right? Maybe you can get some good test plans, because I may get a trouble code and I'm not going to the manufacturer's test plan. You know what I mean? We have our own way we do things, and if I stuck with every manufacturer's test plan, we're not going to be proficient. We're not going to fix cars in a timely manner. So I just think we have our way that we do things, and I have Identifix. I use Identifix, but I don't use it as the silver bullet. Sometimes it gives me ways to test a component on a car a little faster than the test plan for the manufacturer does.
So what do you say to people that want to replace training with, I have Identifix?
I think he summed it up with the test plan, right? The test plan is for if a technician, like when we're talking about in the dealer sense, a lot of the techs that are at dealers that are starting out, they don't have the experience where they can go based off of, oh, I've done this before, or hey, I can go around this and kind of get to that same solution. They have to kind of follow a test plan. This is the process that they're going through. But when you're on the independent side, it's completely different. It's how quickly can you get it done, and how good of a repair is it going to be? Because the manufacturer, let's face it, they don't always get it right. I mean, first of all, they're
basing everything off pattern failures. Really,
yes.
9 times out of 10, they know what's wrong with the car, or before the car even gets to their lot, because it's a Chevy, and the transmission makes noise. It needs a transmission.
Yeah, or a software update.
Right. So it's just a different world. Prime example is an alternator on a Ford. Unplug it, jump the 2 wires together, get your scan tool out, and you can see what's coming in and what's going out. If you got it, you need an alternator. That's literally 5 minutes versus if I follow that test plan.
Oh, you're going to be there for an hour and a half.
You're an hour into it. So it's not that I'm against it, but
no, I completely agree.
To do
of course.
Sometimes Identifix gives you that hey, unplug and look for this.
Yes.
I'm not
Well,
just going to throw an alternator on there because there's 109 people that replace the alternator.
Yeah. Well, did you turn it off and then turn it back on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and this is where the training comes into play. If you have a very green technician, if you have your own process, but you're lucky in the fact that you understand this, you're also constantly training and you're the owner of the business. So you can kind of put these processes in place based off of what you're seeing. Now, for the owners that don't have any technical experience and they don't have that master tech that's constantly training, they're in a rough spot. And this is where they have to have somebody that is staying on top of this. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to implement the processes that you are. They're going to have to follow the test plans or something of that sort. And like you said, something that takes 5 minutes is going to take 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and you're losing productivity there. So everybody has to be training one way or another.
Kim said something to me a long, long time ago.
Wait, you listened to that?
Well, let's hear what it is.
This is recorded.
I
Hold
know.
on.
Get ready, Kim. Write it down.
She would say, you have to find your why. What's your why? And for me, it was always, we own an automotive repair business. I could give a shit about the business. I hate that side. My why is the cars. I love working on cars. I give it away for free, but
yes,
my
he's
why
not
is
allowed to
working
go
on the
in.
car
Yeah.
and the technology, and it keeps me going. If I had to come out of go sit in an office all day, I don't want to be there. I don't want to do that. It's just not. It's my why is working on cars, and if I got to stop doing that, then I don't want to do it.
I think you bring up a very, very good point when it comes. We're talking about training mostly, right?
Yes.
Now, the biggest thing is the motivator. And we talk about this with all of the shops that we coach, right? Is you have to find the motivator behind whatever you're trying to get accomplished. So every employee in that fact, even our customers have a different motivator.
Absolutely.
Right? So we have buying personalities for customers. That's what we train on, stuff like that. But what are you guys doing to figure out what that motivator is for your team?
So we try to, we do the goal posters that
Which
ATI has.
I was really not for that, but it was actually pretty eye-opening and cool. So
Do you put sparkles on it?
He had his daughter do it.
Okay.
But no, we did. And we had a different coach with ATI at the time. And so he Zoomed on with us and we had a contest and you won $100 for, and we did it too, but obviously we weren't in. So, and then every year they bring their goal posters, what has changed. And if they have something that they got off their goal poster, then I buy them, it's, maybe they want a new car, they got a house, or ASEs, we got his ASEs. So we try to talk about that because you guys had to talk to us about that. We didn't understand when we started a long time ago, making a goal, setting a goal. What is your why? What are you doing? We did not know any of that. We were just trying to run a business. But it's important now, I think, with this new generation, we have to understand their why more than ever. And it's not always money. And recognize them. Even our most quiet guy, he's one, he brought it, they like it. So we try to do that. It's hard. And it's hard for us to stay motivated. We were on a walk and I just saw George Zeeks the other day and that was my conversation. We're 20 years into this business and we're getting older and it's hard for us to stay motivated. We have to find our motivation, our why, and what are we going for? She's telling us that, this is her constant conversation with us. Where are you? What are your roles? Where are you going? So we need to now pass that down to them, but figure it out for us, right? So that we can lead that way as well.
That's so important. And I just, with the goal posters and anybody not doing them, really, you need to, because it's a snapshot into their brain and everything that's important to them. And people are not money motivated.
No.
If people will say, if you ask somebody if they're money motivated and then follow up, if they say they are and you follow up with questions, you're going to find out they're not motivated by money. They're motivated by what they want, that money to do something else.
Yes.
And that's what you have to get to, not on the surface level. But I had a shop one time and they sent me the goal posters and two of them were almost identical. There was like a car, there was a cabin, there was another house, and it looked almost the same. And I thought, did these two idiots sit here and do it together? Right? And then when I talked to them individually, one of them, I said, what is this? And they said, I want to get a log cabin so I go hunting with my buddies and, you know, have a place to go and stay. And then the SUV was to get on the trails to go hunting and all of this stuff. And everything was geared to him going off and hanging with his buddies and, you know, doing that stuff. The other text one, and it happened to be 2 texts, the house, what is this? I want to get a house for my family, for my kids to enjoy the lake and the whatever. What's this SUV? So that there's enough room, everybody can drive, my kids and I comfortable. Everything was about the family. So when you looked at the 2 of them, they looked exactly the same. And I thought they were going to tell me the same thing. They couldn't have been further apart with the same pictures on there. So it's so important to find out the why for everybody. And sometimes the why changes and you have to think about it, right? Like your why when you started the business.
We make them each year, especially after COVID. It was like, did things change? You know, bring it back at the beginning of the year. What has changed? Has your why changed, or did you accomplish anything? A lot of ours are about family, or, you know, be a better father, be a this. They put that stuff because I make them talk about it. I don't just say, show me your goal poster. We go around the room and you have to tell me what each one of your pictures is and why.
I'm not touchy-feely. I don't like that. So no. You know how that is for me.
I know, but it was a good exercise, wasn't it?
And you learn about it too, right? I mean, there's some things, you know, oh, I didn't know that about you. I've known you for 15 years.
Right.
You know, so it's kind of cool.
You know, what I'm getting from both of you guys is you guys do a lot of lead by example, right? And that's very important. You know, if we are trying to set this stage and putting these expectations of our internal customers, we have to have expectations for ourselves. Now, with the whole goal posters, it doesn't have to be sparkly. Mine is not sparkly.
No.
Mine's in like a notebook that looks like somebody chewed it up.
We like sparkles.
We like sparkles.
But regardless, it's like we've been talking about, it's the why behind it. And one thing I really want to touch on here is how you guys are celebrating their wins. This is one thing that a lot of shops kind of miss the ball, is when they are doing all of this, they'll put all these things in place. If you're able to help anybody, any of your employees in their personal life to get any kind of growth, any kind of progression, it's almost always going to transfer into their professional life. So with the one-on-ones, I know when we're first starting one-on-ones, we're not really getting into a lot of the personal side of things, but like the goal posters, that's one of the easiest ways where you bridge that gap and you get people to start opening up. So it's fabulous that you guys have had tremendous success with it.
And even the not touchy-feely guys or the quiet guy, they still do it and they still know what it's, you know. And plus it's my personality that, you know, one of them snuck off and got married. I find out about it. We're having a thing at the shop and I'm getting a wedding cake and we're all going to be, you know, I just think that, which is our different personalities complementing each other, you know. Chubby had a thing that he used to put the dimes in one pocket. And every time you said something, it's hard for him. He's a Marine. That's what I made him walk around with those chubby dimes in one pocket and move them over. And you're like, where's your dimes? Did you move those over? And did you say, and it's hard it's way easier for me to do that. So,
but still you can hear the passion, and Kenny when he talks about the passion of training and bringing the young techs up and sharing the knowledge and the repository.
And he's comfortable with that, Kim.
So that is touchy-feely, whether you want to admit it or not.
It is.
It's just a different way. I don't know.
You know, it's so funny. Fred Giswicki from Fix It With Fred. So his team was like, we're not doing goal posters. And you can do it anyway. Like Jason said, you put in a notebook. They have apps you can put on your phone. But his team, they were like, Kenny, they're like, we're not doing goal posters. That's stupid. So I don't know how, you know, bless Fred's mind said, well, how about a gold tub? And so BG has those stupid plastic coins in there.
Yes.
So he's like, all right, I'm going to, when you start saying, I'm going to give everybody a tub and you can put your coin, you know, your BG coins in there and put your pictures on there. Well, that made it okay and not touchy-feely. Because
that's arguably worse.
I know.
So he got pretzel tub. I don't know how many pretzels that poor family had to eat to get everybody one of those tubs. But what that turned into was insane, because one guy, which Fred didn't have any idea, is all into seeds and like seeds from the area, and he's part of a seed group. And
Pretty cool.
who the heck knew?
I know. Well, you
that
never
never comes
know.
up.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is a customer had to come in because they were showing them something on the car, and they saw the seed thing on the gold tub, and they were happened to be the president of the Seed Association of the state of Ohio. So I mean, he's hooked up, but those little things make such an impact. And just even like with the one-on-ones and the listening to the why, everybody's in a rush, they're half listening. That gift of active listening is so exquisite because they're not getting it anywhere else. They're not getting it anywhere else.
All day.
And
They're there all
I think
day.
one of the coolest things I ever heard, we take a lot of time off. We come here twice a year. We super conferences. She travels a lot. Anyways, one of the time that we were gone, I don't remember what we were doing, but remember Justin was like, "Oh, that's not how we do things here." You know, we had a newer technician, and he's like, "Oh, no, that's not how we do things here. And we do it this way." And, you know, that's the Rocha's way. And that was pretty cool to hear the story when we got back.
Yeah, he came and talked to me, and he was like, that's not the way you guys do things. That's not the way
No, he said we do things.
we do
That's
things.
not
Yeah. And
our way.
again, we grew them right from whatever they've been here. They see how do you do a test drive after the car is fixed? Everything has a way that we do, and they know it. And so I don't like to micromanage. I am not about micromanaging people. I want you to come do your job. I'm going to give you some grace. Here's where we need to get to. You and I can disagree how we get there, as long as we get there. So I don't like to micromanage. And I think our employees understand that. And we tell them, take care of the customer, take care of the car, and do what's right for the shop. And we will back you 100% when we get back. No questions. You know what that is. And when we get back, you did those 3 things, you're good. We never question them. And they do a good job.
Great job.
There we go. Expectations are set. You guys empower your people, and the passion. I think that's one of the most evident things, right? Everything can kind of subdue if somebody's passionate about something. Doesn't matter what comes up, they're going to get it done. Like, for example, it's very clear you're very passionate about learning, working on vehicles and training and all of that. And it rubs off on everybody else. And if somebody doesn't like that, obviously there's going to be a problem there anyway. So they're probably not a good fit for the culture. So you guys are doing a phenomenal job with everything that you're doing here. And I know you keep bringing it back to we're in a small town or whatnot. I don't think that really has anything to do with it. If you guys move to downtown Los Angeles, you're still going to have that culture just from what you're showing, leading by example and doing the passion. So I do not discount it for you guys being in a small town, because that is not the reason why you guys have the success you're having.
Thank you. That was nice. Our worst thing is I like to travel. I travel too much. I do. I don't think it is. But we probably our worst thing, what are we doing? We are more involved than probably we should be, right? That's going to be where we're not our ATI way as much as we should be. And that's probably our one downfall.
Well, he said that he doesn't like to be in office. He wants to be working on cars.
No, he is not. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the way that we're still married today, because we have strong personalities. There's a black door for the shop, and he better stay behind that, and I'll stay in the front. Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to end on a positive note, and I do agree with Jason. I think the small town thing it does give charm, and it might be kind of why you started doing what you're doing. But you could take this anywhere and be just as successful, because it's the two of you, what you've grown, and the leadership and the example that you set, and you're instilling that into others, which makes it a duplicatable model, right? So
100%.
100%.
And for the shop owners that are watching that maybe are not Ken and don't want to go and do all the training and learn everything, there's somebody in your shop that
needs to be the champion for it.
And they will take that torch and run with it.
Yeah.
So if given the opportunity, but we have to start forming these kind of ideas and start forming this culture one way or another.
Yes.
There's that.
I agree. Thank you.
Well,
That was painless.
Thank you
For
for
anybody
joining
else
us.
that Kim wants to do a podcast.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning, and everybody stay safe and make good choices. And we'll be back again from this beautiful location.
Yes, we will. Get to training.
Get to training. Get to training.